past perfect tense. When we are talking about two or more actions or events which happened in the past and we want to show which of them happened first in the past, we use past perfect tense. Here you will see the timeline. This is the action which happened first and this is the action number 2 which happened later on. If we want to know that action number 1 has happened earlier, then we will use past perfect tense. We will see how this tense is uses. Number first, to describe an action in the past that happened before another action in the past. Example, we had ordered pizza before the guests arrived. That is, we had already ordered the pizza. This is the action number 1. Ordering of pizza is the action number 1 and the guests came later on before the guests arrived. So this is the action which has happened later on. This is the action number 2. So the action number 1 which had happened earlier, we have to use past perfect tense, and in the respect of the action number 2 which has happened later on, we have to use past simple tense. Next, when they arrived, my mother had already cooked the food. That is, the cooked food had been already prepared by the mother. That is, this part of the sentence has to be in the form of past perfect tense. The action had already been taken. They arrived later on. So this part of the sentence is in past simple form. Next, I cleaned the room when the carpenter had gone. That is, the carpenter had gone earlier and then after that we cleaned the room. So this part of the sentence has to be in the past perfect tense and the other part of the sentence has to be in the past simple form. Next, to emphasize the duration of the first action, when we want to emphasize the duration of the first action, we may also use past perfect tense. We had known each other for 2 years before we married. That is, suppose we married is the second action. Here we got married. We had known each other for these 2 years. Suppose we started knowing each other from this point and we were knowing each other for 2 years and then we got married. So the duration of the first action has to be in the form of past perfect tense and the action of marriage has to be in the form of past simple form. Next, you will see we had the bike. This sentence is okay. There is no problem. We have used had in second time in place of the verb to have. Have becomes had. This is the first form, this is second form, this is the third form. So we have to use the third form of the verb to have and it becomes we had the bike for 5 years before it broke down. Second action is it broke down. It has to be in the past simple tense. Next, we can also use past perfect tense to explain or give reason for an action. I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. I had lost my wallet is the first action. That is why I was not having any money. So this part of the sentence is in the form of past perfect tense. Next, conditional. If he had studied harder, he would have passed the examination. Here is a note. The verb that is in the past perfect tense shows the action that happened first, and the verb that is in the past simple tense shows the action that happened later. Formation. How this tense is formed? First comes the subject I, we, you, they, he, she, it, and it is followed by had, helping verb. Then comes the past participle of the verb, that is the third form of the verb, and then comes the object. It does not matter whether the subject is singular or plural, that is whether it is I, he, she, it, or in plural form, that is we, they, you. We use the helping verb had. In all cases, we have to use the helping verb had. Now we discuss the three forms of the past perfect tense. First come the positive form. I had eaten pizza. Here you will observe this is the I is the subject, had is the helping verb, eaten is the third form of the verb. Eat, ate, eaten. This is first, this is second, or this is third form of the verb. Here we use third form of the verb and pizza is the object. Next, he had eaten pizza. He had eaten dinner by 9 p.m. This is the formation of the positive form of the past perfect tense. First comes the subject, then had, then third form of the verb, and then comes the object. In case of negative form of the past perfect tense, we have to add not in between had and third form of the verb. I had not eaten pizza. He had not eaten dinner by 9 p.m. On the other hand, when we make interrogative sentence in past perfect tense, we simply take had at the start of the sentence. Had I eaten pizza? Had he eaten dinner by 9 p.m.? Please do not forget to add question sign at the end of the sentence. So this is the formation. First comes had, followed by subject. Here I and he are subject. They are followed by third form of the verb, and then comes the object. Please note that in all these sentences, third form of the verb has been used. We are not to use opt for first form of the verb or second form. No. In all cases, we are to use the third form of the verb. If irregular verb is to have breakfast, then the sentence will be I had breakfast. Another example is when I left the party, I had dinner. Here had has been used in place of to have. Third form of the verb have has been used. Have, had. We can also use WH questions to make interrogative sentences. WH form may be when, where, what, how long, etc. Examples are here. What had he eaten before dinner? How long had she known him before she met him? You will see that the question form is followed by the had, and then comes subject, and this is the third form of the verb, and the second part of the sentence is in the past simple form. Where had she gone before? This is the third form of the verb gone. Go, went, and gone. There are certain rules which we have to follow when changing a verb into past tense. Verb used in past perfect tense may be regular or irregular, as already told in the previous videos, that regular verbs are those verbs whose simple past and past participles can be formed by adding d, ed, or sometimes we may have to add ied to make the regular verb simple past and past participle. We are to use in this sentence the third form of the verb. Most verbs are, here are the rules which we are to follow. Most verbs are added ed, simply added ed. Earn becomes earned, earned. Listen becomes listened, listened. In case of certain verbs which end in e, we have to simply add d. Admire becomes admired. Agree becomes agreed, agreed. In case of verbs ending in vowel y, vowel plus y, we have to remove y and add ied. Here you will see that we have to remove y and add ied. Cry becomes cried. You will see y has been removed and ied has been added in both the verbs. In case of CVC, C stands for consonant, V stands for vowel. Vowel means A, E, I, O, U. All the other alphabets of English are consonants. And in the case of CVC, here you will see we have to start from the last. P is consonant, O is vowel, and T is also a consonant. You have to double the last letter and add ed. So stop becomes stop. Here you will see P has been doubled and ed has been added. Plan becomes plant, plant. Here you will also see N is a consonant, L is a consonant, A is a vowel, and N has been doubled and ed has been ended. There may be certain exceptions to the above rules. There may also be irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are those verbs which do not follow the rule of adding d, ed or ied. When these verbs are there, the past forms of the irregular verbs, that is simple past and past participle, can be the same or can be completely different. For example, arise becomes arose, arisen. Be becomes was, were, or, and been. Teach becomes taught, taught. Eat becomes ate, eaten. Have becomes had, had. At the last, you will see pet becomes pet, pet. There is no change at all. But in the case of these verbs, there were a lot of change. These regular and irregular verbs are only a few examples. There is a long list of regular and irregular verbs which are available in your books, or the same may be available online. You have to memorize the same so that you can perform well in the exam. Then there are certain contractions which may be used in past perfect tense. Here you will see I had, you had, we had, they had. In this case, we have removed HA. HA has been removed, and in the place of HA, we have added apostrophe. And I had becomes I'd, you had becomes you'd, we had becomes we'd, they had becomes they'd, he had becomes he'd, she had becomes she'd. And in the case of I had not, you had not, we remove the O and apostrophe is added, and both these words had and not are joined together. And I had not becomes I hadn't, you had not becomes you hadn't, we had not becomes we hadn't, and so on. I'd may mean I had or I would. How would you know whether apostrophe D means had or would? That is, whenever I'd, you'd, or would is used, how would you know whether apostrophe D means had or would? you would know the same on the basis of what follows it. What is written after had or the? What is written after the? For example, it may mean I had or it may mean I would. So we will understand the same from what is written after that. Here you will see it. I seen the movie already. Here you will add it means I had seen the movie already. In the next, I do anything for you. I would do anything for you. So next, we can also give short answers whenever there is a question in the case of past perfect tense. If the question is like this, had you informed him? The answer will be yes, I had. You will see that there is no contraction. We will not say yes, I. You will not use this contraction in case of short answers. This is wrong. However, if the answer is in negative, no, I hadn't, then you will see that there is contraction has been used. I hadn't. Next question, had she eaten dinner? If the answer is in positive, then you will say yes, she had. If it is in negative, answer is in negative, you will say no, she hadn't. You can use contraction here, hadn't. Then there are certain common expressions, that is time expressions, which are used in the past perfect tense. Before he arrived, we had already eaten the dinner. At the time I left job, I had been an officer for 20 years. He had lived in USA since 2015. We had just had dinner. Here had has been used in place of to have dinner when he arrived. I had never seen such a beautiful city before I went to Paris. Here you will see that already, for, since, just, and never are the time expressions which are used commonly in past perfect tense. Here we will discuss now some common mistakes which we make in this tense. Example, we had saw the movie. As already told, we have to use the past participle of the verb. That is the third form of the verb. So we had saw, see, saw, seen. This is the first form of the verb. This is second form. This is the third form of the verb. So we will use here seen. We had seen the movie. Who had written this poem? So you will see here that when write is the verb, it becomes write, wrote, and written. T is written twice. So here written has to be written as double T. This is the wrong wording. Then comes they hadn't ordered pizza. Here you will see that the contraction thou has been mentioned. It is in the wrong form. Exact contraction is had an apostrophe T. That is had no. In case of had not, we have to remove O, and in that place O we have to mention apostrophe, and no place has to be left between had and not. So we have to write they hadn't, and hadn't has to be written in this way. When they arrived, my mother cooked the food already. So in this case, the food had been already cooked. So when they arrived, my mother had already. Already is taken earlier. Had already cooked the food. So this is wrong. My mother had cooked the food already. My mother had already cooked the food. Short answer. There may be some mistake while you give answer in past perfect. If the question is, had you eaten dinner? If you say, yes, I ate, no, I do not, these are the wrong answers. You have to answer, yes, I had. You have to use only had. No, I do not need. No, I hadn't. We are to give answer in negative, then we can use contraction. I hadn't. Practice. We do some practice. Before the bus started, we find our seats. As already told, that the action which happened earlier, that has to be in past perfect, and the action which happened later on has to be in past simple form. So here, before the bus started, that is, this is the second action. We had already taken our found our seats, so we will mention that we had found our seats. This is in the past perfect form, and this is in the past simple form. It stopped raining before we arrived. That is, raining had stopped earlier and we arrived later on. That is, this is the second action, and the first action is raining had stopped. So we will write it as, it had stopped raining before we arrived. By the time we reached home, she had cooked food. Next, I did not see the mall before I went yesterday. As already told, we are to use had in case of past perfect tense and not did. I did had not. Here you will see first form of the verb, whereas we have to use the third form of the verb. So the answer will be, I had not seen the mall before I went yesterday. I visited USA before I moved there. That is, I had visited the USA earlier and later on I moved to USA. So you will write here as, I had visited USA before I moved there. Next, by the time he shifted to USA, he, you will see that he shifted later on. This is the form of the sentence has to be in the past simple tense, whereas he had already learnt English. So this part of the sentence has to be in the past perfect form. So we will write, by the time he shifted to USA, he had learnt English. Next, this is the interrogative form, and in the case of past perfect, all the interrogative questions sentences have to start with had. Had she left the job? Here is the summary. They had arrived. This is the third form of the verb, arrived. They had not arrived, only not has been added, and in question has been made with the help of had. Had they arrived? I hope you might have understood this tense in a very satisfactory manner. Now you can practice the same, and it will can only make you perfect in this tense. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course.